Hi class, in this video we are going to discuss solving real-life problems involving rational functions, equations, and inequalities. This video, our objective is, at the end of the lesson, students are expected to solve word problems on rational functions, equations, and inequalities. So the first word problem that we are going to discuss under rational is the speed word problem. So the formula in getting the speed is equal to total distance over time. So using this formula, yung pinaka general formula natin for solving the speed, we can now also solve the distance and the time. And ito nga po ay pwede natin gamitan nitong ating triangle. So distance nasa taas, then yung speed ay nasa baba ng ating distance. So, for you to compute for the speed, again, speed is equal to distance over time. While, if you want to compute for the time will be equal to distance, nasa taas, over speed, which is elapsed time equal to total distance over speed. Next, when you want to compute for the distance using the speed formula, gamitin natin yung triangle. Sabi dito, distance can be computed or equal to speed. Magkatabi sila. So, that is speed times time. So, yan po, no, tandaan po natin itong ating speed formula or speed triangle para makompute natin yung ating mga examples for speed word problem. For our first example, Mark drives at an average speed of 50 kilometers per hour going to work. The distance between his house and the work is 25 kilometers. So how long does it take Mark to reach his work considering his average speed? Now, to solve for our first problem, the first thing we have to do is identify the known and unknown in our problem. So, that is the usual step na ginagawa po natin when we try to solve any word problem. So, we have to identify the given and what is asked. So, for this case, we have, based from our problem, the given is the average speed of 50 km per hour when Mark drives. So, meron siyang average speed of 50 km per hour. While, another given naman is meron tayong distance of 25 km from his house and work. So, what we're looking for, base dito is how long does it take? So, when you talk about how long, we're talking about the time. Diba? So, we have now the known and unknown for our first problem. Next, let's proceed with our solution. Using our speed formula, which is speed is equal to distance over time, we can solve for our time. So, para ma-visualize din natin, we can use also yung triangle natin na distance over speed time. So, from here, mamili na lang kayo kung ano yung mas madali sa inyo or mas familiar kayo. You can now come up with the formula na gagamitan natin to solve for the time. So, solution, time will be equal to, base dito sa ating triangle, distance over speed. So, we will have distance over speed. So, if mayroon ka ng formula for time, madali na lang pong isolve yung ating unknown variable by substituting yung ating mga known or given variables, which is, ito nga po, no? Ang distance natin is 25 km while our speed is 50 km per hour. We have 25 over 50 or 1/2. Then, for the unit, pwede nating makancel yung kilometer sa numerator and denominator. Then, we will have our time expressed in hours. So, therefore, we can conclude that it will take 1/2 hour for Mark to travel from his house to work. if he maintain his average speed of 50 kilometers per hour. Next, same scenario lang din. We have still Mark who drives at an average speed of 50 kilometers and he travels from his house to his work with a given distance of 25 kilometers. However, for our second problem, we are asked how will you represent the relationship of his speed, y, versus the time, x. So, ganun pa rin po ang gagawin natin. First thing we have to do is identify the known and unknown variables in our problem. So, our given or yung ating mga known variables are the speed, which is 50 km per hour, and the distance of 25 km. So, what is the unknown variables? So, sabi dito, mismo sa ating problem is that if x represent the time it takes Mark to drive to work, so therefore we will let x be equal to the time it takes Mark to drive to work. And ano pa, meron pa dito, sabi dito sa ating mismong problem is our speed is represented by y. So, dito nga is ang ating x nga ay time. So, y will be equal also to our speed. So, meron na tayong unknown and known variables. So, using this one, we can now start to represent the relationship of our speed versus our time. So, using nga po yung ating formula, that speed is equal to distance over time, or yung ating triangle. So, that is distance over speed and time. What we're going to do to represent the relationship is simply palitan natin yung ating mga values dito, variables, ng ating mga unknown and yung given. So, meron tayo, sabi, we're trying to get or come up with the relationship between the speed and the time. So, therefore, sabi, our speed is equal to y and our time is equal to x. So, papalitan natin siya dito sa ating pinaka-formula na speed is equal to distance over time. So, that will be equal to y is equal to our time, x, and base sa ating given or known, we have the distance of 25. So, therefore, ito na po yung ating equation na gagamitin or representation relationship between the speed and time. Let's have our next problem. So, given that Mark has an average speed of 50 kilometers per hour and the distance between his house and work is 25 kilometers. So, suppose Mario lowers his speed by 10 km per hour. So, how long will he reach his work given the same distance? So, ganun pa rin po ang gagawin natin. We have to identify the known and unknown from our word problems. Our given is the speed, which is 50 km per hour, and our distance, which is equal to 25 kilometers. So, what we're trying to find is the time it takes when he lowers his speed by 10 kilometers per hour. So, ganun pa rin. We are going to use our speed formula, which is speed is equal to distance over time, or that is distance, then speed, time. So, we're trying to look for the time for this case. So, time now will be equal to distance over speed. So, distance over speed. Substitute lang po natin yung ating given. And remember, sabi sa ating problem is that we have to lower his speed by 10 km per hour. So, therefore, still given the same distance of 25 km, we will have now 50, the original or the average speed na takbo ni Mark, minus yung ating lower speed of 10 km per hour. So, yun yung ating magiging denominator. Solve lang po natin. We will have 25 sa ating numerator. And sa ating denominator, 40 na lang. So, that is 50 minus 10, which is equal to 40. So, makakancel natin yung kilometers. So, therefore, that is 25 over 40. Lowest term natin, that is 5 over 8 hours. Itong 5.8 hours natin, pwede natin siyang express in decimal. So, that is equal to 0.625 hours. Or, pwede nyo rin siyang express in minutes. That is equal to 37.5 minutes. Take note ha, na hindi po ibig sabihin pag kinonvert nyo sa decimal is equal na agad siya sa minutes. Take note of that. So, may proper tayong conversion of minutes to hours. So, halimbawa nga po, no? So, you have 0.625 hours. So, para ma-convert natin siya sa minute, multiply natin siya sa ating conversion, which is in every 1 hour, there is 60 minutes. So, dahil ang kino-convert natin is hour, so sa denominator siya para ma-cancel. Then, yung 60, ilagay natin sa taas. So, therefore, pag pinag-multiply mo yan, 0.625 times 60 is equal to 37.5. Kaya po, ang ating equivalent ng 5.8 hours or 0.625 hours is equal to 37.5 minutes. Let's continue. Suppose Mark's speed is unknown and it's represented by X. He lowered his speed by 10 kilometers per hour at the distance of 25 kilometers and reaches work at 5.8 hours. So how will you write the equation to find the average speed X? So tulad lang din ito ng ating second problem, but this time iba po yung ating situation. Meron tayong kailangang i-consider, which is yung kanyang pag-lower ng speed of 10 kilometers per hour. So, same pa rin naman ang gagawin natin. Let's first identify yung mga known and unknown sa ating problem. So, for our known or our given, we have the distance, which is equal to 25 kilometer, and we have our time, which is equal to 5 over 8 hours. So, sabi dito is that we are going to represent our speed, which is our unknown. So, we will let x be equal to our speed. Ayan. So, using our speed formula, which is speed, or yung ating triangle na lang, distance, then over speed time. So, how are we going to represent or write an equation to find his average speed, x? So, ang given kasi natin is time and distance. So, mas maganda kung i-express natin siya instead yung speed naka-equal sa speed, express natin siya sa, or equate natin siya in time. Therefore, we will have time is equal to distance over speed. Now, pwede na natin i-substitute yung ating mga known at yung ating unknown, which is we let x be equal to speed. So, our time is 5 over 8 equal to our distance, which is 25 kilometers. And we have our speed. Ang speed daw natin will be represented by x. And take note, sabi daw dito sa ating problem is, suppose he lower his speed by 10 kilometers per hour. So, if he lowers his speed, so magma-minus tayo sa ating denominator or sa ating speed ng 10. So, ayusin lang natin. We will have now our equation, which is 5 over 8 equal to 25 all over x minus 10. So, ito na po yung ating representation or equation for finding the average speed x.